What if everything you feel isn't just yours? There is a war going on right now. You can't see it with your eyes. There are no trenches, but it leaves its mark on bodies, hearts, and minds. It creeps into unexplained fatigue, into the tightness in your chest that comes out of nowhere, into the fear that steals your sleep. And worst of all, many don't even know they're under attack. They only feel despair taking over silently. This is the invisible battlefield, where the soul cries out for help and almost no one hears. But there are moments, rare, powerful moments, when the invisible also manifests itself as light, when what seemed lost begins to fall into place, when a force that does not come from ourselves lifts us off the ground. This prayer is not a beautiful text. It is an invitation, a spiritual call. Listen to the end. Something may awaken within you, because when heaven decides to intervene, nothing remains as before. Is the sadness that haunts you just emotional? Why are so many sinking in silence, even when surrounded by people? And most importantly, what happens when you call for Saint Michael, and he answers? It is not against flesh and blood. These words, recorded centuries ago, continue to echo in the hearts of those who feel that something is wrong, but cannot name it. It's not the boss. It's not a family member. It's not the traffic. It's not the economy. The enemy, in fact, is where the eyes cannot see. It is a silent war, waged within seemingly peaceful homes, within smiling minds, within hearts that beat but are tired. And this war, as invisible as it is real, strikes with surgical precision at what is most sacred to us: our faith, our identity, and our hope. Have you ever felt like you're fighting something you can't explain? You wake up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, even though there's no danger. You walk into places and suddenly feel a strange weight. You stay silent all day because what's inside seems to scream louder than any sound around you. This is the battlefield that almost no one sees, the mind and the spirit. This is where fear whispers that everything will go wrong. That doubt undermines every step of faith. That guilt resurfaces for mistakes you have already asked forgiveness for 1,000 times. That sadness builds walls between you and those you love most. And in the midst of this quagmire of feelings, many people learn to pretend that everything is fine, that they are in control, that they can handle it. But inside, everything falls apart. The soul, trapped, falls silent. And that is when the war reaches its peak. Not because evil has grown stronger, but because we try to fight alone with human weapons: effort, pride, distraction, anger, isolation. But how can we win spiritual battles with human strategies? How many times have you tried to get up on your own, only to fall deeper? How many times have you thought you needed to be strong, when in fact you just needed to be honest? There are walls that cannot be broken down with shouting. There are valleys that cannot be crossed with courage alone. There are chains that can only be broken when we recognize that we no longer have the strength. And it is at this point, when the soul bends, that something begins to change. But before that, we must recognize that there is a war, and it is not against flesh and blood. There comes a time when the soul no longer prays with beautiful words. It cries out. It cries out with tears, with groans, with deep silences. That's when the pain overflows, the chest tightens, and the knee touches the ground, not out of habit, but out of desperation. That's when prayer ceases to be routine and becomes a cry. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend me in battle. No longer a memorized phrase, but a real, heartfelt plea, coming from the depths of a spirit tired of fighting alone. And then something begins to happen. The presence of the one who wields a flaming sword begins to manifest itself. A sword that does not wound, but cuts what needs to fall. Invisible chains of fear, ancient pacts with pain, cycles of repetition, sabotage, guilt, rejection. He does not come just to fight against enemies. He comes to fight within us, and the one who once only hid now begins to rise, with a strength that is not his own, but has become part of him. The armor is restored, the shield is raised, the mind is purified, the soul is repositioned. 1,000 shall fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but you shall not be struck. Psalm 91. With Saint Michael, spiritual warfare becomes sacred territory to be reconquered. Old decisions begin to be re-evaluated. Entire homes are washed by a peace that does not come from the world. Broken relationships come back to memory, not to bring pain, but to activate forgiveness. Dreams that had been shelved are resurrected. Stagnant finances undergo spiritual liberation. Forgotten traumas are touched by a light that heals without asking questions. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. The soul then understands that it was never just psychological. The voices, the pressures, the fears. There was a hidden dimension behind it all. And in this discovery, there is relief. Because when you understand the origin of the war, you can finally use the right weapon. And the greatest of all is the light that enters where darkness has settled for too long. This is not just a moment of prayer, it is a spiritual rite of passage. From fear to courage, from loneliness to presence, from chaos to alignment, from captivity to liberation. And at the center of this turning point is the warrior of God, the one who said, "Who is like God?" The one who now lends you his courage so that you may overcome, not only what is around you, but what is within you. When heaven decides to enter history, nothing remains the same. What was once a burden becomes momentum. What was once a prison is now a testimony. And what was once silence of the soul becomes a restored voice. The warrior who once cried out for help now becomes the dwelling place of the sacred. The battle is not over, but something has changed forever. He is no longer fighting alone. The presence of Saint Michael was not a visit. It became permanent protection, a shield against attacks, a sword against injustice, fire that purifies memories, decisions, and future paths. And the soul finally understands. You are not a visitor, you are protection. Anxiety is silenced. Fear loses its power. The heart is restored, sealed as a territory of light. Dwell in my days, my plans, my decisions. This is not a poetic phrase. It is a vow of surrender. It is when one's entire life bows before the presence that was once sought and is now permanent. You have not returned to the starting point. You have been rebuilt. Now you walk with marks of fire, not pain. Marks of one who has been sustained by the flaming sword, of one who has been healed by light that has passed through the darkest valleys. Now I know that I am no longer alone. And with that certainty, a new journey begins. A journey marked by living faith, not just words. By purpose, not just desire. By conviction, not just belief. This is the seal. You were visited by heaven, and heaven decided to stay. May this prayer not end here. May it be the first of many battles won in silence. Because something has been activated within you. Maybe you can't explain it in words, but you feel it. You feel that something has changed. Heaven has already begun what will be manifested on earth. Saint Michael did not come just for this moment. He is not a visitor. He is a sentinel. He is a constant presence. He is protection. And you can declare with faith and truth, I receive you, Saint Michael, as the permanent sentinel of my history. Your soul now bears a new seal. The sword is no longer only in the hands of an angel. It now lives in you. So go forth, with courage, with light, with purpose. The war continues, yes, But now, you already know who is fighting by your side.